Hello, Max here, and taking feedback about my last review not necessarily being a review, I decided to call these videos Let's Talk About. This frees me up to basically talk about anything I want, games in early access, first impressions, or games currently in beta. So let's talk about Gigantic. Being original is hard. Don't worry, I'm not about to start claiming we have another Overwatch ripoff because it has a hero with a bow and arrow. A weapon that has existed for thousands of years and appeared in many games long before our Shimada brother fired his first shot. Although I'm sure I could guess where the inspiration for this nightmare machine came from. The era of the hero shooter seems to be firmly upon us, and while I know these games were likely in development long before Overwatch was announced, Blizzard's latest IP has set the bar incredibly high. Developed by indie studio Mortiga and published by Perfect World, Gigantic is the latest attempt at the new genre, and is currently in open beta on the Windows 10 Store and Xbox One. I know what you're thinking, an independent studio like Mortiga could only be filled with hard-working, honest artists that do it purely for the passion of making games, while their evil publisher overlords are only interested in money. So it must be the deal Perfect World struck with the devil that forces us to use the Windows 10 Store if we want to check out this game. Most gamers I know would rather shit in their hand and clap than use the Windows 10 Store. And you can tell, queue times to get a game of Gigantic can be quite long. Perfect World have their own digital distribution service called Arc, and I've used it a few times in the past and it works, well, perfectly. So why use the Windows Store? Well, Gigantic is cross-platform. You can and will play with people on both PC and Xbox One. Microsoft will likely not allow access to their network unless the game is installed through the Windows Store. But is a cross-platform shooter worth restricting access to your game for? A lot of people think it's not fair to pit mouse and keyboard against those on controller, and I'm one of them. But I have a lot of friends that play on Xbox that don't own gaming PCs, so this could be something we can play together. However, all of this is meaningless if the game isn't worth playing. Gigantic is a multiplayer 5v5 hero shooter with some mild PvE elements and a fairly high time to kill. The goal is to destroy the enemy team's Guardian, a gigantic creature that essentially has 3 lives. The teams can also summon smaller creatures at 6 specific locations, 3 for each team. These creatures collect energy orbs that spawn periodically and need to be collected to have a chance at damaging the enemy Guardian. If there is no creature on the point, the orb will still spawn, but can be collected by players from either team. There is also a central point that can spawn an orb where neither team can build a creature. These orbs create the contention points, providing primary objectives for each team to target in order to progress the map positively in their favour. However, you can also score points towards attacking the opposing Guardian by killing enemy creatures and players. The complex structure of the gameplay and symmetrical nature of the maps creates an incredibly tactical PvP experience. There are very few heroes in the game that can kill enemy creatures solo, and the creatures can be leveled up, making them harder yet to take out, so team play is essential. There are so many ways to get an advantage over your enemy that I feel this game would be great at high skill level, building teams tailored to specific tactics with the mechanical skill of a first-person shooter needed to execute them. The micro skill required for Overwatch coupled with the macro skill needed for games like League of Legends or Dota. It could even be fun to watch if it wasn't for one massive drawback. PhD level statistical mathematics is easier to comprehend than the colour vomit you need to pay attention to when playing Gigantic. Sure, after you study it for a while I'm sure it will become clearer, but to start with it's just a mess. I do like the art style, but only as still images. Once it starts moving around it becomes hard to follow and teamfights are just a whole lot of cluster loving. Trying to work out who to shoot at and who not to shoot at made me go cross-eyed. The hero design will feel very familiar to anyone who has played Heroes of the Storm or anything similar. As you progress through a match, you are awarded XP for doing positive things for your team. Every level awards you with a skill point that can be spent on upgrading or modifying abilities. There are 10 levels and 5 abilities, and you can spend a maximum of 2 points on each ability through a small branching skill tree. Some of the skill points do fairly boring things like just increase damage, but others do change the playstyle of the hero you've picked, and I love that. However, this is yet another level of complexity that pushes the learning curve of this game almost vertical. On top of learning the maps, working out tactics and the different creatures in the game, you'll need to learn the heroes, what they do, and then learn how to spot the different build paths they can take, and when they hit their power spikes. It's incredibly daunting, but there are some people out there that will love how complicated this game is, and Mortiga have said their target audience is players wanting a hardcore experience. And I think they've tailored their business model for that target audience correctly too. Once again, you can see the influence of League and Heroes here. There are two currencies, one that is earned by playing the game and another that is bought, although there are ways to earn small amounts of the bought currency through gameplay. Both can be used to unlock heroes, creatures and skins. The heroes you can play for free will rotate each week, but everyone will have different free heroes available, so you always get a variety in your games. Through the quest system, which asks you to achieve general goals like win matches or specific objectives like kills on a certain hero, you'll earn enough currency to buy 1 or 2 heroes pretty quickly. And there is a Founders Pack available that will unlock all 16 heroes and the next 4 to be released, but that will cost you £32, €40 or $40. I've generally lost faith in free-to-play games as the business models tend to be frustrating or pay to win. However, Gigantic is one of the few games that does suit free-to-play. You don't need to have all the heroes to enjoy the game or to not get counted out of having any fun, and keeping its doors open will mean a healthy player base if people like it. If you love the idea and have the time for a layered PvP experience with a lot of depth and a steep learning curve, then this could be something worth braving the Windows 10 store for or firing up on your Xbox One. It is free and the business model won't leave you frustrated. I personally do not expect to put any more into it though. I don't necessarily have the time, and I do feel Gigantic is missing 2 important aspects for success. It doesn't have that pick up and play feel. Even though the matches are only 15 to 20 minutes and sometimes shorter, a game does feel like a commitment. Which isn't a problem on its own, as some people will have that hardcore every game is about improving attitude. However, the solo queue experience leaves a lot to be desired. Gigantic feels very methodical at its macro level, and the coordination is not always going to happen. Games like League and Dota are the same, but they have their laning phase, where, as a solo player, you can get ahead and have a huge impact on the game. Games like Overwatch require strong team play too, but they are fast paced, so there is always action. To me, Gigantic is somewhere in the middle, and it just doesn't do it quite well enough that I want to scale that mountain of a learning curve. Thanks for watching. As always, hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already. I know the content hasn't exactly been thick and fast recently, but I'm still working things out. I have high hopes for the new year, but with Christmas coming up, I don't think there will be anything for the next 2 weeks or so. You might be able to catch me streaming though on twitch.tv/cynicalnerds. Until next time, take it easy, and I'll see you soon.